Welcome to Dad Mode, a podcast that is the Triforce of gaming, streaming, and dad life in general.
All right, welcome to Dad Mode Podcast. This is Morph back again with Bearded Nova. Tonight we have a guest with us, Lieutenant Colonel Smash. He is a fellow dad to two kids. He is a gamer. He is a streamer. He's been doing this for about 3 years on Twitch.
Yeah.
Technology with the kids. So, we've talked previously about protecting them from things. When I gave my son a phone, we immediately put Bark on there, and the Google Family Link, I think it is. Family Link helps protect against the app usage. Bark, the big thing I like about it is it analyzes all emails and texts that he sends and receives for context, and says, and it sends you an alert if they think something sounds like bullying or violent, or he sounds depressed. Or
they didn't know about this app.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So Smash, since you obviously are all about gaming and streaming tech, do you think what kind of apps or tools out there do you think help parents kind of protect their kids from the craziness on the internet in general?
Yeah, so and I'm not certain if I'm handling this the correct way, but as I've already discussed, I lean towards the avoidance right now, which I know I can't do forever. But we do want our kids to start communicating using technology in an appropriate way, and we've started with applications that first let them communicate with us, so that they can communicate, and they can be communicated to in an appropriate way in like a bubble. And there's one that we really like called Kinzu.
Okay.
And Kinzu, yeah, you can. I think one or both of you mentioned one where you can like approve which kids get. No, I think you said something about Facebook.
Facebook, yeah. It was an American app, and it finally came to it got pushed worldwide. It was Mexico. I don't know. It started somewhere small, but then they've pushed it worldwide now.
Okay, so that would be like a part of Facebook. It's kind of its own thing, and
no, it's separate.
Oh, it's separate.
It's not built into Facebook. The kids don't have to have a Facebook account. Nothing. It is just it's linked to the parents' account. They don't need a Facebook. Them having Facebook Messenger for kids doesn't give them access to Facebook. It only gives them access to the Messenger app itself. So it's more for the parents, because the parents are going to probably be connected to some way. So then, because the parents are connected, I know, this daughter's friend. So I call that to her parent. I'll send her a request saying, "Hey, it's Josh. Bailey wants to talk to such and such."
Okay.
And then she will, I'll see. She goes, "Oh, cool. I know Josh. Yeah, I know him. I know her. Tick."
And you can approve the connections then?
Yes.
It sounds like they have similar features, except this does not work with the messenger situation. This is its own isolated messenger.
Yeah. It doesn't work with, and no strangers can find them on there. Like it's really locked down to just only people with kids' messenger accounts can see kids' messenger stuff. So it's very locked down.
Oh, when this goes up, you guys need to put along a list of these recommended apps on these episodes. This is great. This is great information. But yeah, so I mean, I'm like I said, I lean on the avoidance side of it, but I want them to dip their toes. So I'm trying to find these applications. There's a couple other things when I finally do get them a cell phone. I know that in the States there is a cell phone provider with an Android operating system. Every time they want to download something, you have to approve it or deny it.
That's just Android in general. Family Link.
Family Link in Android.
Yep. So, you can set all the app age limits. iPhones, Apple has a similar thing with their family screen sharing or whatever. When I used to have an iPhone, so the kids would actually have to, anything, including free apps, they'd choose it. Then I get a notification on my phone going, such and such wants to install this app. And then I click on it, it opens the app store so I can see the app. Mm-hmm. And then I approve it. Any purchases they make, because you find all those horror stories of kids that jump onto someone's Xbox and brought, 50,000 Madden points. Or Roblox or whatever, that it has to be approved through your phone. Basically, everything they do.
I'm hoping it's easier to use than the Xbox family
Way easier.
Because that's just
way
oh my
easier.
gosh.
Yeah.
Have you guys had
Way
the
easier.
Xbox? Nothing against Microsoft. I'm an IT
Family
guy, but man, they have convoluted that family control system, family account center. It's just
I get these emails. I get these emails every time going, Microsoft such and such's weekly update or whatever on their computer. So then they send me this email and I look at it and it doesn't have anything in it. I'm like, I don't think use their computer. I don't know. What is this? Like, it doesn't show me any Bing searches or anything. Like, I have no clue what they've actually done.
Although I will say, and I agree, it's not the best app. It is not as helpful as it should be. We restrict internet searching. And I'm glad because I don't know if I'm ready to see what my son searches for. I feel like it would frighten me.
Yeah.
I actually had to use filtered words to restrict searches. This is quite a few years ago from my son with the iPads, because him and all his friends have got iPads at school. And I remember getting called into the teacher's office for him and a couple of friends because one friend had discovered big boobed anime girls. So they sent that to all their friends. They sent it to all their friends. There's a group of like 8-year-old boys that have all shared the link. So they got these anime boobs all on their iPads, and the teachers walked through the class and seen it. So then she's called all the parents, and I'm like, God damn it, now I have to restrict the words in here, and I have to go through and lock down all these words. But like,
Nova's over there. He's telling them, hey, kids, you don't have to search for the other ones. You can just search anime, and it just comes up. Just use anime.
But in Google, you can type in any word, and it's going to show you stuff on the
It's unreal.
But that was my introduction into crap. I actually have to filter it because I just kind of didn't even think of, like, he never thought about it. It just turned out to be another kid went, oh, look, you can do this on an iPad. So then all the boys are just standing going, oh, wow, look at this.
Yeah.
We haven't had to do that ever since, but it cracked me up. Well, at the time, it cracked me up. I'm like, oh, yeah, so he's a boy. Okay. And then I'm just trying to figure out how this situation unfolded in class for the poor teacher that walked around.
So when we were young, we had to work for it. We had to figure out how we were going to get into a store, how we were going to get into the back section, how we were going to get a magazine.
10 minutes
for that
photo for that JPEG to load.
Wait! I don't know what you're talking about, Beard.
Yeah, what? Huh?
No. Yeah. It was effort. It was effort for us, and I feel like nobody complained at the end because it's like he worked hard for that. Yeah, he worked hard for that. No, so this might be a bit off topic, so feel free to cut this out if we need to. But something that does concern me too about having a cell phone in particular is sending or sharing actual pictures of classmates.
Yeah,
in compromising situations, and that worries me to no end. More so than seeing a hot tub stream on Twitch. Because that kind of thing, depending on your kid's age and the other person's age, could get them in lifelong trouble. And I know you know where I'm talking about. The
biggest one I talked about, especially with for some reason, I feel boys are more likely to share stuff, like to pass it around, where girls are more likely to create the content that gets shared around. Like usually that's how it unfolds down here. Most of the stories that you hear back on. So I've been with son, just you don't share things that don't belong to you. That's very quickly like that. And then the daughter and all the kids, I'm a great example of things that you put on the internet stay on the internet. So I've shown them, I can Google myself, and these are the images that pop up. Like it does. If maybe you put it up on the internet, it's there. It's not going away. You can't take it back. So don't ever share anything over your phone to someone that you do not want the whole world to see, because realistically, it only takes a second for everyone to see it.
Yeah. And to Morp's point, gosh, it doesn't even have to be their device. Classmates sharing things around. Just being silly in a locker room, being silly outside of school, and doing something goofy, and then someone snaps a picture of it with their device, and they start sharing it around, and that's gonna be a real problem. And I know there's been movies and TV shows based upon that type of cyberbullying, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know how you educate your children, not to make parents out there who are listening to this fearful of the internet, but it's a real discussion that you now need to have with them. No different than looking both ways when you cross the road.
It really is. It's a lot of it is about just trying to teach them to be the best people that you can be, trying to tell them, you know, the smart things to do. And again, without scaring them, tell them the ramifications of what could happen in various situations, you know. And in order to do that, you have to have talked to them about other things along the way too, you know. But it's a different world. And now Beard and I said before, like when you have a kid, they give you the kid and they're like, all right, see ya. You're like, but what do I do with this thing? How do I take care of this thing? There's no handbook that they give you when you become a parent. So you have to figure this out. And also it's a mistake to try to raise your kid the way you were raised, because the generations are different. So if you're a parent and you're not into social media, you're not into gaming, you're not into live streaming, you really need to pay attention to some level of the kind of things your kids are getting into, because they could be getting into situations that you have no knowledge about and won't be able to help them with if you don't.
Yeah. I think that's a brilliant wrap up, actually, of this whole subject. To be honest, you just nailed it. I was like, you just condensed everything perfectly there.
Absolutely.
So we've agreed kids are a problem. It's scary. Like I was telling you guys, I was at a fair today for an ungodly 8 hours. I was so tired. But and we saw one of my wife's friends there with their two kids who are a year younger than my youngest, so they're 9. And they had got off a ride, and the parents said, "Yeah, we're standing right over here." They went the other way to say because they wanted to go to the next ride. They ran off in a fair, you know. And then I'm walking around, and the mom comes up and she's like, "Have you seen my two children?" I'm like, "No, why?" Like, because we don't know where they are, and it's a fair, lots and lots and lots of people, and she's freaking out, as she should. And you know, I looked around and didn't see, and then later I saw them like 15 minutes later. They saw the son, the twin kids, and the daughter wasn't there, and they're like, you know, you see like, "Where's your sister?" And he's like, "I don't know, over there." You're like, "What do you mean I don't know, over there?" You know, and that's just like, and I'm thinking, so I'm going to Comic-Con, and I bring this.
And your heart can drop when you hear that.
Yes. I'm going to Comic-Con in a couple of weeks with my kids in New York City for the first time, me alone, and their first time in the city. Comic-Con will have tens of thousands of people there. And my 10-year-old likes to wander. So I'm like, I got to get like an air tag for him or something. I got to do something, because he's small too. Like if he went the wrong way, like he's short, I won't see him. So yeah. I'm trying to like, I got to get some kind of technology so that I can track him wherever he is.
Look, you know, they don't grow out of that either. My brother, growing up, he's 2 years younger than me. Majority of my childhood, we'd go to the shopping center, and within a couple of minutes, he'd be disappeared. And my job was to go collect him from the information center, because that's where he was showing up at Lost and Found. And that happened every time we went out. My mum recently went overseas with him to Bali. Same thing happened there. She lost him nearly every time they went out. Like, he's 30 something now, mid-30s, and he's still getting lost. So just so you know, your children don't grow out of that. They seem to, if you've got wanderers, they're going to be wanderers their whole life.
You know, my opinion on leashes on children has changed over time.
Yes. I was telling the boys, you know, if you guys ever do what her kids did, you're going to have a leash. And my kid's like, "But I'm 12. I'm like, "I don't care. You're not wandering away. Like, my job is to keep you alive and teach you how to be an adult and a human being within 18 years. And, you know,
my job is to get you to 18.
I'm not embarrassed by this leash. You are.
Exactly.
I'll it all day.
Yeah, I don't care. You know, you'll get some dirty looks, but there'll be some parents who are like, yeah. Oh, I get it.
So So another one you wanted to bring up? Topic you want to go for it?
Um,
So that's a good half hour though.
so I had touched on the appropriateness of we can focus on this. Like I say, I had touched on the appropriateness of like Twitch or the live streaming services. Like I think you have to be 13 to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
But and I know you have had some strong opinions about various streaming services, Twitch and Kick. Do you think it's appropriate for kids to be on those services?
Yeah, let's go with that one. I think that's a good topic.
Yeah, you know what? I think it is, but I think what needs to happen is, and I'm actually going through a course right now for my MBA, and we're talking about digital systems or information systems and ethics. Some of the do no harm type things, and I think right now we're at a crossroads of ethics and making money, and those two are starting to separate. Maybe they've been separating for longer than I think, but they see young people as a future revenue stream, regardless of what age. But I really think that these streaming platforms really need to come up with a creative way, ethically, to verify young people's identity. And I think it's a responsibility. So we have two things, right? Do we ban content on different types of social media, or do we do a better job of rating it and then verifying the viewers? That way we're not banning stuff, but we have a consensus of viewership that says we all agree that this age is really not appropriate. And that is, I think, should be left to discretion of the platform, with some input from key stakeholders, parents, and alike. And it's got to eventually, not everyone's going to be happy, but I think the verification process needs to be there on platforms, video games, applications, technology, all of it.
This sounds bad in a way, but it's so easy to go, bring it back to, again, us being younger and the internet. Are you over 18? Yes. That's all I gotta say. Like we all know exactly what that means.
And by the way, am I the only one that said
no?
Yes. Looking around first.
I was honest. I was like,
I'm safe.
I just thought those questions were supposed to be like an honesty question. I was like, oh well, yeah, no, I'm not 18. Click. I was clicking. You guys weren't honest in those questions?
No, I wasn't honest.
I mean, yes, smash.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
But I think a lot of that, like, yes, it needs to be graded better and put into appropriate sections where it needs to be on different platforms. But at the end of the day, it's still going to roll back to us as parents educating on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate at age levels too.
Yeah, because you can't. You can be a helicopter parent, but that's not the best for your kid. You need your kids to be at a point where they, having heard enough lessons from you, know what's right and what's not, and you can trust them to make their own decisions. Because you can't, you want to be involved. You want to have an idea of what's going on in their lives, what kind of things they're doing and looking at, stuff like that. But you can't be there all of the time. So the best thing you can do is try to teach them, oh, this is appropriate for you, this is not, and here's why. Not just don't do this because I said so. Like, give them the reason why. Hopefully they'll be mature enough to understand those reasons when you give them, and that'll help them logically process why they shouldn't do something. Like, so you could trust them to be on Twitch and they'll see Amaranth's stream pop up. They're like, I'm not going to go to that.
That's not made for me, basically, is what they are. And that's going back to the last episode where I said my son got caught at school, all the boys looking at pictures of anime girls. That was a sit-down conversation that we had going, hey, mate, you're not at the appropriate age that this is intended for. This isn't for you. This is for adults. I know it looks like cartoons. That's not. But that's educating and talking about what's appropriate and what's not. And I haven't had that situation again. But, curiosity gets it. And I feel like in a way, if you try to shelter them and withdraw and not share that information about what's appropriate and what's not, it could also lead to them seeking it behind your back, being not trustworthy with you. They're just, okay, well, they said no, so I'm just going to do it, not tell my parents. And you think about like the old stories, like, boys or girls that are in boarding schools that are all boys and all girls, but then they sneak out to see the girls or they sneak out to see the boys. Like, it's a very cliche type of story, but it's a way of like going, cool, you don't need to go to school with boys and girls because it's distraction or whatever, but they seek it intentionally because of that. It's a weird
I think
metaphor to it, but that's it.
I think there was the interesting thing about that is boys, girls, all ages, we've all done things that our parents, I'm sure, would just be appalled at, and maybe our parents knew and just kind of ignored some of it. But when you did that, when you snuck out and went to the girls' dormitory, or when you got caught with the magazine underneath the bed or something like that, there were repercussions, right? And you knew there were repercussions, so you knew to hide it. It's you definitely want to make sure, going back to what both of you said, was communicating with them what is and is not appropriate and why, what the ramifications of that are. But there also needs to be, because young people's brains don't understand like long-term penalties and disruptors. They understand more quickly the instantaneous. So I think there should be repercussions when they're caught with it. I had a family computer in a public area growing up. Mm-hmm. Right, because you can only afford one PC back then, right? So could I do stuff like that? Yeah, but you know what I did? Snuck down, you did it in the dark, you did something, and you knew if you got caught, you were in some serious trouble. But now with the technology at their fingertips and where they can hide it, it's almost like they don't even need to try to hide because they'll never find out. Because
that's why we got apps.
Yeah, well, that's what
and age gating and all those things. That's technically why we got them, because there's so many ways to get around it now.
Yeah.
I remember how great it was when I got my first job and I saved up, money, and then had this money aside, and it was going to be for a car, and then my father ended up owing me some money, so he bought me a car instead. So I had $2,000 sitting there in my bank account that my mother had always said I wasn't allowed to touch for a car. And then here's a car that I didn't spend the money on. And I remember looking at it going, you know what this means? We're going out Saturday. You got to take me around to all these computer shops, and I'm building my own computer, so I'm no longer sharing with everyone. Yeah. Like, I remember that day so well. It's highlight of my life was building my first PC for myself to escape the family.
I remember. This isn't me. This is a friend. So searching the internet way back in the day, and maybe trying to download something, family computer. And maybe accidentally setting it as wallpaper instead. And then perhaps not realizing that and going away and then hearing, hey, can you come in here for a second? Yeah, what's up? What's this? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that is. So yeah, maybe that happens. So one good thing about the technology, even though they have more access to things than we did, easier, there's also more logs. There's more ways to find out what they're doing than we do. Oh, yeah. If somebody had a magazine, you just throw it away or whatever, and then there's no proof that it ever existed. It's not that easy with. You have a digital footprint, no matter whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, I would love for young people to be able to like expunge their anything they did prior to a certain age. That would be a great thing with technology. Just a clean slate. You're now an adult. Now you get a reset. That would be awesome if they could do that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. So when at my job, if I'm hiring somebody, I'm doing, or my company is doing social media research, and if you as a 15-year-old posted something stupid with your actual name, I'm probably going to run across it. And I'm going to use that as part of the basis of whether I want to hire you or bring you in for an interview anyway. And that, to your point, Smash, that maybe that's not fair. There have been kids that I have not brought in. They say they're right out of college, and everything I find on social media is them just drinking at parties. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe that's not fair for me to use that, but
it's the world we live in,
right?
But that you can, like, we're doing the same thing. But my wife and I, with my wife's job, she does a lot government work and a lot of community work in between, like a lot of interactions with people. So, and can be disgruntled people. So she locks her Facebook down pretty damn well. Like, you wouldn't be able to find her on social media unless she reaches out to you. And I feel that's also probably a smarter thing for kids to do. And I admit that if you're coming out of high school, college, getting into that work environment, go through your social media and clean it up. Like, going back to that, like, clean it up, think about what it is, lock it down if you have to. If it's something that, you know, it might not be harmless. It could be completely harmless as just going out and drinking. But as Mo said, that is going to dictate you. And I'll admit the same. Every time I get a new staff member or something, I go, cool, social media search. See, and I kind of gauge people straight off that. What I find on the internet, what their name pops up is the type of personality they are. And I could be wrong, but that's my initial impression.
That's who they really are. Like, that's who they are when the cameras aren't, quote unquote, the cameras aren't on, you know? And that's fine. But yeah, I mean, so you want to be you got to be careful. You got to teach them about things, you know? I've been doing this for 3 years, and even today, if I search my legal name with Morph, there's no searches. Like, so I've done a good job so far of keeping them separate. One time, a sponsor thanked me on Twitter using my legal name, and I'm like, please take that down. I don't want you to do that. You know, I really want to keep things separate. So, you know, that's not that I want to teach my kids that, because then I wouldn't be able to find out what they're doing. But you know, that's something that to think about, one way to protect yourself. So it's one thing to not look at content. It's one thing to not do stupid things, but it's another thing to also teach them that, you know, at least by the time they're 16, now colleges and potential employers might find this stuff. So be careful what you're putting out there.
Yeah. And you guys, both of you have now mentioned using, teaching your kids critical thinking, and that critical thinking of how their actions have repercussions either now or tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that way, when they do reach a point where you cannot assist them, or you're not looking over their shoulder because you don't want to be a helicopter parent, they will probably, even if you've just mentioned it, it's something that you can slowly encourage them to do and ingrained in them and regularly mentioned it, it will pop in their head. You know, should I be doing this? Should I be posting this? And they still will make mistakes, but it hopefully will reduce that. I think that is probably the most important takeaway that I've gotten from our discussion, is really the preparing your young people for smart decision making with technology.
Right.
So bring it back to age and the content on the internet, getting into some of these things like Twitch and that. I could never trust one of my children to. Well, not my children. I can't trust the content coming from Kick and my children to ever be on there. Like, at least with Twitch, I know if my son wanted to, because I know some of the content creators he likes, like Dan TDM, and they're all pretty safe, kid-orientated creators that he likes. Like, there's no one inappropriate there that he doesn't like. But I know him going into Dan TDM's chat on Twitch or something, if he was to, it wasn't going to be completely vulgar and that, and I know that the mods and that would do a great job.
Yeah.
Etc. You know what I mean? Like, I have a bit of trust in the creator itself there. Whereas if he decided to start browsing on Kick, I would have no clue what. I would say no instantly if he told me he was doing a Kick thing, because I couldn't trust the platform and what the platform was going to dish out in any direction, whether it be chat or the video, because you know, it's wild over there.
The hot tub streams are worse over there, and while Twitch does still have gambling, they didn't ban gambling; they banned some companies.
Yeah.
Kick, they promote it. Twitch doesn't promote it. If you want to go find it, then go find it. Kick says it's right here, like, you know, right in the center of the categories are on the main page, and it's the looking at the half naked women is one thing. That is teaching kids, that little girls, what they're supposed to look at, are little boys. Hey, I can objectify women, and that's cool. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
But the gambling is another thing altogether that can very easily and quickly ruin your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, every so often when we bring up Kick, because I don't keep logged into it, I like to load up the kick.com and see actually what it dishes to me. Mm-hmm. As someone who's not into an account logged in, Ice Poseidon, someone I would never trust with my children, and Amarith, but that's the front page. That is my front page. That and gambling. It's got slot machines on. So that's what's offering me as a new creator. So you can imagine if your kid's going to Kick to watch a streamer and they haven't had an account, that is what it's pushing at them straight away as a, there you go, welcome to our platform.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny? If you think about it, we've had hundreds and thousands of years of society learning how to communicate with each other, how to interact with each other. Sometimes we've done it well, sometimes we've done it not well. But yeah, what's interesting, if you look at it from the big timeline, the internet, the social media age, we are in an infancy, and I think we are, at least in the U.S., I can only speak freely for the U.S., I think we are struggling to know how to use it in a mature fashion, both adults and young people. It's because it's such an infancy. We're devolving. We don't know best practices and how to communicate with each other in an appropriate way that is beneficial to society.
It came to life within my lifespan. I was 20 or so before any of this really happened, so it's relatively new. And one name I was going to add to that list is one of Kick's biggest partners, Aiden Ross, right? Mm-hmm. He was one of the founding guys on Kick, and he has the most vile opinions, says the worst things, and knowing that his audience is like 10 to 13, like he has a really, really young audience soaking up all this stuff that this bigger than life guy says. He's shown porn on his stream, and I don't mean this to bash Kick or bash him, but I guess what my point here is, parents really have to pay attention to some of the things your kids are doing. So I get it. Your life might be busy. Find a way to look at what they're doing, and don't just lecture, explain.
I don't want to just be comparing platforms 100%, but I've done an incognito, brought up Twitch.tv to see what it push over to me in that sense. Shroud, which I think is not too bad. He's a big streamer, but he's not someone I would say is completely inappropriate. I know a lot of kids watch him. And it's not one bit of gambling. If I scroll down on my incognito page, I have not been shown boobs, hot tubs, or anything like that. Even the first game that was up the top was some moon, like weird indie development pixel art game. Like, it's nothing in here screaming that would make me as a parent walk past and not know what Twitch is and go, holy crap, what the hell are you watching? Like, you on some type of inappropriate site. I wouldn't get that as a parent. Not if I walk past the screen and saw this on my kid's computer, I wouldn't be scared straight away, I guess.
We're pretty lucky. We're three guys who are fairly well integrated into this ecosphere of technology and social media. What do you think if my wife, for example, who is not, if she had to raise the children and she had to do all of that, what would you recommend to her to say, hey, here's how you get involved, here's how you educate yourself, and here's how you learn? Where do you start?
I think for social media, create an account on the social media and use them a little bit. Don't get yourself addicted to them, but go into them and learn about it, how it works, what you can see, how you can filter, all that kind of stuff. And then I think for other platforms, I think that's the best way to do it, is just to try them out for yourself. Like, if your kid is interested in Twitch, go on Twitch, and browse. Go on other platforms and browse. But get into it. A lot of parents, even my wife will be like, I don't understand Twitter. Do you have a Twitter? No. Well, then get Twitter and look. Don't just read articles about it. Actually go in there and see what it's like. Because an article could either be very biased one way or the other, and that's not really going to give you the insight you needed to what to do with it, or how to think about it.
One pause for anyone listening out there. That does not mean if your spouse comes to you and asks what OnlyFans is, don't tell them to start an account. Don't do it.
Right. Fair point.
Very fair. But then it's that's what I was saying in the last episode. My wife monitors what my children see, so she's friends with them on those platforms. Obviously, none of them are on Twitter because we don't mention the other name because it doesn't really exist. So Twitter, none of the kids are interested in. That's like a old man's platform basically now, I feel. Yeah. I tried using my Twitter notoriety towards my children to show off, and none of them care. Like, look at me, I'm friends with Barack Obama. Like, how is that not cool? They're like, Britney Spears. Like, I went through all these weird celebrities that follow me for no fucking reason, that I still don't know, but I still think it's cool to brag to people about.
Yeah.
And none of my children care because it's Twitter. And it doesn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah, Twitter is dead to them, and Facebook is for your grandparents.
Yeah.
That's what they think, right? So even as you were saying, Smash, like, we're in this, we understand it. Even me, like, somebody like, oh, what about this trending new app, this new profile, social platform? I'm like, what is that now? Like, you know what I mean? I have all I can do to keep up with, like, the 5 apps that I know about. And then there's another one, so I'm like, oh, fine, let me sign up for a stupid account and that, see what this is all about. Be real, right?
Yeah.
That was
Be real, yeah.
And then it got so popular that TikTok decided to make a clone. And them making a clone was the first time I'd ever heard of Be Real. I was like, well, shoot, let me go take a look and see what Be Real is all about. So it's parents, I get it. It's hard. It's hard to do it. But Smash and Nova and myself, who do this, I was gonna say for a living. That is not true. Who do this for far too many hours a week or month, still have struggle to keep up. So don't be hard on yourself, I guess I'm saying.
No,
when you can't keep up with it. But just, I guess it's important to keep that open dialogue with the kids and pay attention to what they're doing. Don't be helicopter parent, but don't be absent either.
No, take an interest
find that
in
balance.
It. Yeah, take an interest in it. I've noticed that when I even if I goof around and joke about, and I know that kids don't say whoop anymore, but I tease and I joke about that stuff. My kids are saying, well, my dad is trying to be cool, and actually in a way that he's joking about it. And he's being self-deprecating. Cool. Yeah, he's being self-deprecating. He's like, oh, he's making fun of himself. That's kind of cool, and that keeps an open dialogue. And they're like, oh, hey, cool. Who's that streamer you're watching, or what's this YouTube video you're watching? They're like, oh, this is this one. And so, if just taking 5 minutes and watching what they're watching, and I was like, you know what? All right, they're making good choices. I can leave the room, and they think, oh, Dad's cool. So when they want to have a dialogue with you, they feel like they can because you're excited about it.
I said my son, the first YouTube creator he really followed was Dan TDM, and I hit him up about different content creators at the time. Like, oh, do you watch this person? Do you watch, the Doc? Do you watch Dr. Disrespect? No. And then, I look into Dan TDM at the time. And he's playing Hello Neighbor and Minecraft and games that he actually was interested in. Like, that's taking that little bit of time and knowing the people that he follows on YouTube, I guess, it's a nice bridge. Gives you something to talk about.
Yeah. With
him as well. But that's, definitely jump on the platforms. Definitely see what they're doing. Have a little sticky beak into who they're following, I guess.
I don't know an Australian term?
Sticky beak? You don't know what sticky beak is?
Smash and I are both like, what?
I did for it. It's kind of like just having a look. It's kind of like having a look over their shoulder. Just having Yeah, just
Okay.
keeping an eye on what they're doing without them knowing what you're doing.
You know what, Nova? I am going to use that, and I'm going to try to see if I can put
Use
it
it
in.
inappropriate.
I'm going to film myself using it appropriately. Hey, honey, let's put the kids to bed and go talk a little sticky beak. So, am I using it right or wrong?
No,
So,
God.
All right, parents, if you listen to this is probably one of the podcasts. Maybe
This
don't
is on
let your children listen
Dad
to.
Mode After Dark. This section here. So Smash, is there anything you kind of want to say to wrap this up? Like your thoughts on appropriate content for your kids and whatnot.
Yeah. So I know I'm just reiterating myself, but pay a little attention to it. Show interest in it. When you show interest in it, at first they may not be open to discussing it, but they will be excited if you're excited, and it's going to create a pathway for dialogue. When they create a pathway for dialogue and something is not right to you in something that they're doing in social media, games, adding a friend in Fortnite, whatever they might be doing, you say, hey, well, what do you think? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think they should be adding what do they like? What do their parents like? And then they might, and they go, oh, well, what does my dad or mom know about this that I don't? And just give them a pause. So I think stay involved, stay excited, and feel free to watch YouTube with them and TikTok occasionally. And it's a little earlier in the TikTok stuff, but Twitch, and play games with them. Keep that connection open.
All right.
That's, yeah, very solid.
Hey, thanks for tuning into the podcast today. If you like it, be sure to share it, leave comments, and we'll catch you next time on the Dad Mode.